Silver and gold absolutely skyrocket today. What's behind this big move? We're going to talk about that. And I actually have three interesting components that I think are driving the price of the metals. We know the metals went up, 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 but we want to know why. And if it's something, if these driving factors are something that can continue to push the prices higher as we move into the end of the year. Will we see $30 plus silver by the end of the year? It's starting to feel like it on a day like today, but there is so much going on in the world. Let me just go over quickly what we're going to cover and analyze in this video. We're, of course, going to touch on what's going on in the Middle East and see what the situation is there. But I learned something very interesting on a trip that I was on for the last 2 days with some high-level people in the financial services industry, and it is in direct relation to what's going on with gold, and it affects silver, and it has to do with China and oil. I'm going to explain it to you in very, very clear, easy to understand terms. What else do we have? Oh, Citibank is doing something very interesting in the world of metals. Yes, that Citibank, we're going to talk about that. Of course, we're going to talk about the screwed up situation here in the United States with the U.S. economy. But most importantly, what's the latest news that we've gotten and what does it mean? How does it impact the silver and the gold price? Oh boy, and we got to talk about luxury brands because we know that's one of our favorite things, right? Buying Louis Vuitton purses and things like that. But what are they telling us that could have a major impact on the price of the metals as well? We're going to talk about that. Ikea, and again, one third and final critical point that was brought up to me as I was talking with these analysts and high net worth investors over the last few days regarding silver and gold, something I hadn't really thought about, but it's a fact, and it's yet another and a third big reason why we've got things to be excited about in the world of silver and gold. So let me get back to the top. Silver and gold as a safe haven. Is that what's going on today? I want you to think about this. Where in the past would people put their money if there was huge turmoil in the world? Where would they go? Right? Not over the centuries. Let's just talk about over the last few decades. Right? Silver and gold kind of got ignored as a safe haven. Many people in the whole world would run to the US dollar, run to US treasuries when there was geopolitical turmoil, when there were big issues that scared people. They would run to the dollar. They would run to the treasuries. Think about what's going on right now in the world. We have a bifurcation that's happening in the world right now. Half of the world economy. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and many, many more countries are explicitly stating they don't want US dollars anymore. They want to move away from the US dollar. Now, what does that mean for the silver and the gold price? What that means is likely what we saw today when there are big geopolitical risk events that are unfolding, huge levels of uncertainty. People that used to run to the dollar in US treasuries are now, quite frankly, moving to silver and gold because they don't want to run to the Chinese yuan. They don't want to run to the Indian rupee, and they can't run to land or any other real asset. Silver and gold are entering a new paradigm in just this regard, but there's several other that we're going to talk about today as well, where as a safe haven, it's becoming much more attractive to a much bigger swath of the world's population. I'm going to stop and get a drink of coffee. Oh boy, I apologize for the weird sound effects. I can't mute you right now. I'm off location. This is not Ron's basement. Yes, you're in Ron's bedroom. No, everything's fine with Susie and I, but she did forget to lock the basement door, and I escaped to Toronto, where I've been for the last 2 days, meeting with the executive team at First Mining Gold. We went and visited one of their gold mines, the Du Parquet project, but we also had a huge group of high-level analysts from these big Canadian banking firms that follow precious metals, and I learned some fascinating things, right? One of which I just shared with you, but we're going to talk about a couple other ones as well. We also were with some high net worth investors, and boy, I'll tell you what, guys, there's some smart people out there that are realizing right now that one of the most attractive investment opportunities is silver and gold. People are waking up, and everyone is seeing it, and everyone is beginning to realize that the big shift is occurring right now, right before our very feet. We're having change unfold in this world, whether you're talking about the U.S. financial system, the U.S. monetary situation, whether you're talking about we have a war in Europe, we have a war in Israel, horrible situation. We don't like it, we don't want it, but we didn't create it, and we do know that we want to protect ourselves and protect our buying power, and we do that with silver and gold, and there are so many more people right now waking up to what's going on. You're ahead of the curve, okay? I'm ahead of the curve, right? If we are indeed proven right. There's no absolute guarantee, but it sure looks like as we move into these coming months, quarters, and years, do you think things are going to get less interesting? Because they just continue to get more and more interesting. Let's talk about what happened today with gold and silver. This comes from Kitco. Headline says, gold sees its best week since March, with prices up 6% from last week's lows. After hitting a low last Friday, that was just a week ago. A lot can change in a week, huh? The precious metal has seen its best weekly gains since mid-March. Prices are over $90 higher than last week's closing price, with December gold last trading at $19.40 per ounce. I just thought of something awesome. We have two indicators. Those of you who are new to Ron's basement, which is today Ron's bedroom, coming to you from the Westin at the Toronto airport, but nonetheless, two indicators for the gold price. I used to say gold was within a stone's throw of a new all-time high. I would say with December futures trading at $19.40 per ounce, we're going to upgrade it from a stone's throw to now spitting distance. We are back within spitting distance of a new all-time high in gold. And what happens with gold happens with silver. We saw that today. We're going to talk about silver plenty. Don't you worry. But you got to realize, as we are getting very close to a new all-time high in gold, when we get to that new all-time high, just sit back, just imagine this for a second. We get a new all-time high. We go to $2,100 on gold. Doesn't seem real, does it? We're within spitting distance again of that. But what's super exciting about that is once we get to that new all-time high in US dollars, because most of the rest of the world is already at new all-time high, don't you worry. When we get to 100 thumbs up, I got a bell for you. Don't you worry, and you're going to like it. It's very creative. But once we get over $2,100, there's nobody in the world at that point who owns gold, who's not in the green, who's not making profit. Nobody's going to want to sell. And with everything going on, this rush to safe haven assets, the fact that all the sellers are gone in the gold market, we're going to move from, that's my prediction, we're going to move from $2,100 to $2,600 gold, lickety split, faster than we close that spitting distance that we're going to do here before the end of the year to get to the initial target of $2,100 gold. And you know what Buddy Rumble, the Louisiana gold guru, predicted months ago, that we're going to have $32 silver, $30 silver by the end of the year. Guys, it's definitely within reach. Let me tell you about silver here, what Kitco had to say. Silver's also seeing a significant shift in fortunes as the precious metal looks to end the week up more than $1. Silver was up almost $1 today alone, with December silver futures last trading at $22.90. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Always appreciated. Never expected. Thank you. Up $1. Silver is up 9.5% from the sub $21 lows of last week. Silver has moved 10% in 1 week. Thank you, Ozman. Thank you for the super chat. I'm going to have a sip of coffee, and I want to talk about this crazy move we've had in the silver market. Because don't forget, just 3 weeks ago, thank you, Mary, for the super chat. I'll be back in the basement soon with the red shirt, and I'm going to ring the bell. But I just want to remind you guys, it was just 3 weeks ago. Or was it 2 weeks ago? I don't know. I don't have my calendar in front of me. But we had the what I call Black Friday event, the horrible Black Friday, not the big Black Friday Ron's Basement giveaway we're going to be doing where you can win a bunch of silver and other stuff. No, the Black Friday when at 8:30 in the morning Central Standard Time, silver was up $1 per ounce. And then 1 darn hour later, silver was down $1 an ounce or down 50 cents an ounce. I don't know. Silver moved like 7.5% during the course of the day. Silver traded 550 million ounces in that 1 day, which is like 2/3 of the world's total mine production of silver for an entire year. I mean, come on, man. You got to be kidding us, right? So silver can move. And don't forget, as gold gets to that new all-time high, it's going to move, and it's going to move quickly. Our friend Niels, at Kitco said, gold and silver are seeing significant gains heading into the weekend due to rising safe haven demand. As Israel intensifies its war with Hamas, with growing chaos in the Middle East and Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine, analysts said that investors are ensuring they have protection during a weekend when anything can happen. That was one of the conversations I had with these top-level analysts, wealthy investors, even the executive team from First Mining Gold. Everything has gotten so big, so convoluted. The world is on this precipice of a major change right now. So events are unfolding at a much more dramatic scale, and they're occurring much more quickly. Buckle up, Buttercup, right? And remember what we've talked about. We want to be monetarily and we want to be mentally prepared, because even though we can think about what might happen, when it's actually unfolding, it can be very disturbing, including, let's just talk about a couple of the quick developments that happened in the Middle East right now, right? We have Lebanon potentially getting involved in this war. That's the worst case scenario for Israel. Obviously, we have Israel. It seems like the world is like not real happy about the fact that these people, and this is not a political show, and I'm not taking sides, but the world objectively, I'm sensing, is not happy about the bombings that are going on in Palestine. It's a horrible. I mean, I guess the bottom line is as we look at all this that's happening, does it even seem possible? Does it even seem real that in this day and age, this type of thing, this type of situation is unfolding? We are living in very crazy times. It's the bottom line, right? And we're living in a time when people are waking up to the dollar situation, and people are waking up to the fact that paper is becoming worthless. So people are moving out of the US dollar, out of US treasuries as a safe haven. And that's making, we talked about this. It's like you go to the restaurant in the menu and they got everything scratched off. The dollar scratched off, treasuries are scratched off, stocks are scratched off. The only thing left on the menu that looks attractive are silver and gold. And guys, I don't see that trend changing anytime soon. The world is waking up. Now, I learned something else that was fascinating about the gold market, and this directly will relate to silver as well, because we've talked about this many times. What happens to gold is going to happen to silver. When we get to that all-time high in gold, who knows how quickly people will wake up to gold, and simultaneously, probably even more people will wake up to physical silver and even the silver mining stocks, of which you can count all of those on one hand. Sorry for the sound effects. I really appreciate you being with me here in Ron's bedroom here at the Weston Airport. I tried to shoot out the window so you can see I have a view of the Toronto skyline with the, what's it called? They got a big thing, CN Tower. It's beautiful, but it's a big deal that you're here. You're important, right? There is no Ron's bedroom without you, right? I wouldn't be sitting here by myself in a hotel room talking, you know, if it wasn't for you. So thank you for being here. Oh, I got to do the bell. Hold on. I got a new bell. We got 100 thumbs up. For those of you who don't know, and those of you that don't like it, here's my new bell. That's 10 rings of the bell for 100 thumbs up. Here's something that we're going to learn a little bit. Okay, I want to teach you something because I just learned this. I'm going to do my best to explain it. And then I'd recommend that you look into this as well, because this spells good news for precious metals. This is the good news for precious metals. We talked about the petrodollar, remember, right? That all oil was always traded in dollars. Now the petrodollar is falling apart. One of these guys on this trip explained to me what's going on with China and gold and oil and how it works. And it's actually quite simple, okay? The Chinese have instituted something called the petro-yuan contract. And I'm not a guru in it, but as far as I could see, it started like in 2018, started to gain a little traction. But now, essentially, the net of this, which is crazy, and I want to explain it to you, is that the world can sell oil for gold. Okay? Wow, thank you, Osman, for the super chat. See if I can read that. OTC for first mining. Yes, I will do that. Absolutely. Absolutely. He's asking about First Mining. I'm going to tell you a little more about what my trip to a gold mine that First Mining owns a little bit later, but let's talk about this first. The world is now able essentially to buy oil with gold. And is that a big deal? Yeah, that's a big deal because in the past, all oil was traded for dollars. And oil is the most traded, the biggest market, period, in the world. We know that silver and gold are amongst the oldest markets in the world. Some people said fish markets are older, and somebody had some other ideas, but nonetheless, we know silver and gold are amongst the oldest. Oil is the biggest. It's the lifeblood. If the world economy was a human body, oil would be the blood of the body. Oil is everything. Oil runs the world's economies. The fact that countries are now able to buy oil with gold, sell oil with gold, is a big deal. But how do they do it? How do they do it? Real simple. And come back and rewind, watch the replay of this. It's very easy. Let's say Saudi Arabia wants to sell some oil for gold. They sell it to China on a petro-yuan contract. So they sell oil to China. China gives them Chinese yuan, okay? Immediately upon doing that, Saudi Arabia can take those yuan and go to the Shanghai Gold Exchange. We've been talking about that. Hi, Susie. Hey, it's my wife, Susie. She let me out of the basement. Good to see you, sweetheart. You're the best. I miss you. Anyway, Saudi Arabia sells oil to China on a petro-yuan contract. China gives Saudi Arabia yuan. Saudi Arabia goes to the Shanghai Gold Exchange and immediately exchanges that for physical gold. Because you know what? And that's another big key that this guy hammered home and we've talked about. The Shanghai Gold Exchange is a physical market. Go figure. It's not unicorn fart dust. It's not futures. It's not leverage 20 to 1 or 50 to 1 or 200 to 1 like the COMEX and the LBMA. The Shanghai Gold Exchange actually has the gold. This is a huge deal because a country like Russia that doesn't want dollars, that doesn't maybe want Chinese yuan, they want gold. Yeah? They know that. They know what it's worth. Russia can sell their oil to China, right? On a petro yuan contract, the petro is the oil, the yuan is the yuan that Russia gets, and Russia immediately takes that yuan to the Shanghai Gold Exchange and can get gold. And then they can use the gold to buy things from China or whatever they want to use it for. The world is changing. Now, that alone is a big deal, but you've got to look at what I just described in the context of how big the oil market is. Because you know what, guys? I got news for you. Last I checked, correct me if I'm wrong, the oil market is 10 times bigger than gold. And if people are selling oil essentially for gold, what if the price of oil skyrockets? What do you think that would do for gold? What do you think that would do for silver? It's fascinating, the developments that are going on out there. And I'll tell you, these guys that I talked with all said the same thing. Everyone thought like we did. And these were smart guys. Like, the way things are going right now, we are on, this is a simple way to look at it, but we are on thin ice in the world. Now, I'm in Canada right now. They're Canadians. They're on thin ice. We are skating on some thin ice. And, remember Lynette Zhang? Remember what she said, when things feel crazy out there, right? It's because they are, number one, but also because the system is under so much stress and the system is so unhealthy that we got to be prepared, and we got to be prepared for almost anything, okay? Let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. Excuse me. Let's talk about Citigroup. Did you hear this? Let's read this. They're calling this potentially Hunt Brothers 2.0. Remember the Hunt Brothers were the Texas brothers that tried to corner the silver market, okay? And then the CFTC and some other organizations put a kibosh on what they were doing. But nonetheless, they were attempting to corner the silver market. What's Citibank doing now? And this has to do with metals, and what goes on in the general metals market is a good indicator of what we can expect to have happen within the silver and gold market as well. It says here, Citigroup has been buying large volumes of aluminum and zinc on the London Metals Exchange. Oh, in a bold metal financing trade that's made it one of the biggest players in the market. In the last few months, listen to this, it's crazy. And then we're going to talk about what this could mean. Citi requested delivery of about 100,000 tons of aluminum and 40,000 tons of zinc worth over $300 million. The people familiar with the matter, according to people familiar with the matter. The purchases are for their own trading book and are part of a metals financing play, said the people who did not want to be identified discussing private information. Excuse me. So we are in a situation right now where we have big banks buying big, huge amounts of physical metal. Does that sound familiar? Why do you think Citibank is buying $300 million worth of physical metal? Why do you think JP Morgan has accumulated a huge position, that's the speculation, in physical silver? What's Goldman Sachs doing? What are the big banks doing? We got to think about that. Now, let's talk about the big banks from another perspective that is also crazy good for the silver and gold price, right? And by default, good for the silver and gold miners as well. And by the way, if you want to get your hands on some physical metal for yourselves, go check out Pimbex. I don't have it, but imagine right there it says Pimbex. Pimbex. That's where I buy my physical metal. They've got the best prices, the best selection, and the best customer service. They're family owned. Check them out. That's what I did before I bought anything. Do your own due diligence. I know what you'll discover is that Pimbex is best. Now let's talk about the banks. Okay, this is very interesting for the metals prices. And it has to do with our old friend Jerome Powell at the United States Federal Reserve. Go back to the Great Financial Crisis. Do you remember that? Were you around during the 07-08 Great Financial Crisis? If you examine the data from what I've been able to determine, and now I've heard several smart people corroborate this fact, okay? The banks were in trouble long before it became public knowledge. Does that sound familiar? Right? Look at the environment we're in now. You know, right? The TLT, which is an ETF that tracks the 20-year treasury, is down over 50%. Okay? The banks are dying with the amount of money they have in treasuries, right? You don't know that, we don't know that, because they don't have to report it, because they can just hold it on their books and never really recognize the loss unless all the customers show up and want their money back, right? So the banks are in big trouble. Yeah, we're not even gonna, and you know, they also have a lot of loans out on commercial real estate, which isn't doing too well either. What happened in 07 and 08, right? And remember, we then had a huge rally subsequent to that in the metals prices. Is the first thing. The banks were in trouble. The Fed knows the banks are in trouble. I got news for you. Jerome and Janet. Janet's not at the Fed anymore. She used to be. Isn't that interesting? Janet Yellen, our Treasury Secretary, used to be the head of the Federal Reserve. Nonetheless, I digress. They know the banks are in big trouble. And they will act, the Fed will act proactively to save the banks. That's what they did during the Great Financial Crisis. They started to lower rates, right? And everybody's like, oh, it seems a little early. We're at that point right now, right? Because I can guarantee you, now I don't know this because I don't know anybody at the Fed, but I would bet my favorite red shirt that at the Federal Reserve right now, behind closed doors, they are worried sick about what's going on in the general financial system, but also specifically what's going on at these banks. And we're going to see this pivot sooner as opposed to later. I'm telling you, guys, we have a confluence of big factors going on right now that are going to be supportive for the metals. Just my opinion. Don't make any financial decisions based upon anything that I say today. But that's what I see coming down the pike. We got more to cover. Let me go through the notes. Oh, interesting. Today, well, and this goes along with what we're saying, right? We got inflation numbers this week, okay? The core consumer price index showed price pressures ease slightly in September, but services prices came in hot. The Federal Reserve has welcomed disinflationary reports over the last 3 months, but this month's report doesn't appear to extend the trend. The S&P 500 treaded water all morning, then turned lower, blah, blah, blah. So here we are. Imagine that. Imagine. What do you think it means? Think about this. That inflation is picking up again. Everybody I talk to, trust me, it's here in Canada too. They're all saying the same thing. Inflation is picking up. What's the number one hedge throughout history for protecting your assets during times of inflation? Because inflation is another word for your dollar becoming worthless. Yes, that's right, gold and silver. But it gets even crazier as we look at all these pieces that are moving together right now, right in front of our very eyes. And what we're seeing is an inflationary environment where we're going to head into a slowing economy, more slowing, because we know already right now, we already have a slowing economy. Are you going to tell me the economy's not slowing? Okay, whatever. What do you think? I know the economy's slowing. We know inflation's not going anywhere. We know we could see a spike in oil prices like we've never seen before. We know that stagflation. We know that do we know this? You're a basement dweller. Today you're a bedroom dweller, but you're a basement dweller, so we know. Stagflation is the number one most conducive, conductive, productive, favorable environment that you, yes, you could ever ask for when it comes to seeing higher prices in the metals. And don't forget, when we get to what's going to happen? I'm going to ask you a question, a quiz. What's going to happen when we get to $2,100 gold? What's going to happen to silver? And then what's going to happen to the gold price after we hit that $2,100 level? We know what is coming, okay? But let's just talk about some more of the good news that we got this week regarding inflation and the developments within the economy. Producer prices, we got that earlier in the week. They surged, okay? Here's a great one. 49%. So that would mean just a little bit less than half of all of us watching together right now in the basement of Americans say high prices are eroding living standards. That's from the University of Michigan. And then the University of Michigan's Joanne Husu noted assessments of personal finances declined by about 15%. Primarily on substantial increases in concerns over inflation, and 1 year expected business conditions plunged by 19%. About 49% of consumers reported that high prices are eroding their living standards. I think I said that already. Up substantially. This is crazy. Okay? 49% of people are saying higher prices are killing them. Up substantially from 39% last week. So it went from 40% of the people saying prices were killing them to 50%. That's a big increase in 1 month, right? But we're living in a great economy. It's Bidenomics. It's working. Oh, wait, where's my microphone? It's working. Yeah, it's working. Now, I know CoinShop Chris is going to be devastated by this. And this explains, I think, what's going on since he's been staying out of the luxury stores. But did you hear this? Luxury brands Gucci and Louis Vuitton are collapsing, reconfirming our thoughts about the deflating luxury bubble is news that luxury conglomerate LVMH, that's some French group, reported slowing sales growth, sending shares down 6%, blah, blah, blah. The French group, controlled by billionaire Bernard Arnault, has faced sliding demand for high-quality products such as leather goods, perfumes, watches, and wine in China, Europe, and the U.S. amid a soaring interest rate environment. Now it's hitting the rich folk everywhere. Things are slowing down everywhere. I was walking around downtown Toronto today in one of the ritzy part of town, and it seemed very, very slow for a Friday afternoon. That was just my perception. Now, granted, it was my first time walking through there, so I don't have anything to compare it to, but it sure felt like it was slow. And I didn't see a lot of people in the fancy high-end stores. That's just my observation. Even Ikea. If Susie's still on here, she'll remember we used to go to Ikea when Evie and Lily, our daughters, were 4 and 5 years old, because it was the only ball pit in St. Louis. And what kid doesn't like a ball pit? And they have childcare for free for an hour and a half. So we would need a break sometimes, trust us. So the girls loved it, the ball pit. We would go to Ikea. I've always been happy with everything I bought from Ikea. Susie drives her crazy that I like this one spatula flipper that we have. She always wants to give me the other one. Anyway, nonetheless, what's Ikea telling us? What do you think Ikea tells us about what's going on in the economy? Okay. Let's talk to Jesper Broden. He's the CEO of Ikea Retail. He said, these are times to buckle up. We talk about that. Buckle up, Buttercup. Buckle up. It's not going to be an easy ride in the next few years. What I see this year is due to interest rates being where they are, customers are challenged. So we have to take down our prices. They have to lower their prices. Every market is investing in lower prices, okay? All right, yes. Now, let me talk about First Mining Gold. They're a sponsor of Ron's Basement. I came up here to Toronto to join them on a mine visit to their Du Parquet project in Quebec. I was totally impressed. Massive project. The area up there, the people that work at the project, the town, everything about it was just absolutely impressive. They have a PEA, a preliminary economic assessment they just put out on this project that shows the ability to produce 200,000 ounces of gold per year, and the gold is in the ground. Let me tell you one astounding fact about this project. Before First Mining put it all together, which was just over a little bit over a year ago, the previous company that had owned it and then they hit that bad market in gold where gold went down to whatever, $1,200, $1,400, had drilled 270,000 meters on this project. And I keep asking Dan Wilson, the CEO, and I met with James Maxwell, the vice president of exploration, like, how much would it cost to do that now? The share price of all the gold mining stocks have been beaten down so low that right now it would almost cost as much to do just that drilling on that one project, right, as the whole value of the company on the stock market. That's called the market cap. So it's unbelievable, the opportunity up there, but also, I mean, this is gold in the ground in Canada. They've already determined there's at least 5 million ounces of gold, at least, and they're exploring for more at this one project. But wait, there's more. They've got another big 5 million project hundreds of kilometers away in Ontario, and 4 other projects in which they own a very level of interest as well. Check out First Mining Gold, right? I don't give financial advice. It's a stock that I own. That's why I'm sponsored by them. I only sponsorships with companies that I own. I owned it long before they sponsored the channel. First Mining Gold, you can call Paul Morris. He's the Director of Investor Relations. His information is in the description of this video. Thank you, First Mining Gold, for bringing me up here. And number 2, and then I got something else I want to say, and for sponsoring the channel. I've never met, I'm totally impressed with the people in Canada. Those of you, I don't know if have you been to Canada? Yeah, you, right? I know a lot of you are joining me from the United States of America, or maybe Australia, or maybe, I mean, you guys are everywhere, Holland, everywhere. People in Canada are nice. I didn't realize that they're known for being very polite and very nice, but the people at First Mining Gold are like everybody. Steve Lines, the Director of Environment and Community Relations. James Maxwell, Exploration. Caroline, the Director of other projects. And you've got Jeff Reinstead. I mean, just Dan Wilton. All these people, super high quality people, which was very refreshing for me to be able to spend time around these high people. And I'm telling you, the other people that were on this trip, these high-level analysts from the big banks in Canada, other wealthy investors, man, guys, they are all seeing the same thing coming in the gold and silver market. I mean, to a T, everybody basically, it was strange that I talked with had the same thing to say. Things are screwy right now. We're heading into some very, very challenging time. Don't forget, when we get to 200 thumbs up, I'll ring that bell again. And yes, and I had this discussion. There are more and more women that are getting into the silver and gold sector. We're seeing it on this channel. We've got a lot of them here now. And thank you to all the monitors. Thank you to CoinShop, Chris, Jake, I know, Mary's on here, whoever else is on. But we've got a lot of women that watch the videos, women that are buying silver and gold, and that is awesome. You know, and all these guys also notice that as well, and how welcoming we are, how happy we are to have the women along with us. Let me ring the bell. We got 200 thumbs up. Thank you. Oh man, well, I had to make do. The lid to the ice maker, or the ice bucket, was the bell for today. Hey, I appreciate you joining me. Okay, I'll be back on tomorrow morning before I take off to head back to St. Louis. So thank you for being here. Thank you for putting up with my. I'm always technically challenged, but even greater degree of technical challenge. You are the best. You know, thank you to the moderators that are on here. I'm sorry I can't call all of you out by name because I can't see the darn comments. But I know you're here and I appreciate it. And everybody that came on here on a Friday night, right? Friday night, so much craziness. It's happening. It's happening bigger and faster. And it's happening right now, right in front of us. And I know it doesn't seem real. And I know it can be difficult. You may feel, scared sometimes. We're all human. Even the toughest of the tough. Coin Shop Chris, right? I mean, he's the toughest of the. We all get scared. We all get angry, sad, happy too. It's okay to be happy and okay to be nice. But there's so much that we're navigating right now. And I think the big thing to remember is, we could be wrong. I could be wrong, right? Maybe 2 years from now, we're back to everything's great in the world. The United States is ruling. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay? I don't think that's going to happen. And we just have to be prepared, and we will be prepared, and we will be able to navigate it. That's the big thing, because the big difference, the big advantage that you have, if you're watching channels like mine, and don't just watch me. Thank you. Whoa, who's that? Ozman. Thank you. Thank you. The big advantage you have, Ozman, all of us have, we're not burying our heads in the sand, okay? We are not, right? At least the advantage we have is we're up, we're looking around, and we're going to make it, and we'll do it together. You're a basement dweller. I forgot to say that. Well, you're a bedroom dweller, okay? Maybe I'll just leave this live stream on for the next 24 hours, and you guys can watch me sleep. Susie says I snore. But I don't know about that. Maybe that'd be a good way we could prove that I'm not a snorer. I'm just joking. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here. Thank you to all of you. Thanks to the moderators. And I love you, Susie. And I'll see you guys soon.